so to speak. And this whole time, so Sherry really wanted to be a part of it, but she didn't want to give up that undercover persona until it was time. So she sat across the street and watched. So during their search, police would find in the upstairs bedroom S&M literature, some leg irons, handcuffs, and whips.
Okay.
Listen, if there are two
consenting
adults, yeah, do you.
Yeah, I don't really care
if
about
you like
that.
to be flagged, go for it. That's my thing. Like, as long as you're consenting, you do you. I don't need to know this stuff. So also, they moved downstairs and they found a manual that had a chapter that was labeled as Death by Poison. It was a police manual. And then they also found a book that was called Poison Detection in Human Organs. So let's step back. This is late 80s. And he's got to do his own research. We don't have Google.
That's true.
But you burn that shit. You get your info and you burn it.
Yeah.
You never own this. You never... Why am I telling a Mensa person this?
Well, you didn't. You weren't there, but maybe if you were, you'd know better.
No, I wasn't going to help him because, wait until you hear about his trial. So, Sherry was like, no, he had a secret room in the house I'm living in. He's got to have one there. So, the team actually discovers that there's an uneven part of the wall under this pegboard, where guys leave their tools and draw the tools around them and never put them back in the same place. So, they pulled that out. And they were actually able to look in, and they found a room that had a wooden platform the size of a bed that had manacles attached to it. The windows were all taken out, and the room was just fucking dark and soundproof. So who the fuck knows what they were doing in that room before the cops had found it? Because I'm just like, with something like that, it's like you're either looking for helpless victims or you're seeking out children. Mm-hmm. And I could totally see what this fucking douchebag. So in January of 1991, Gorick Sherry testified against Trepal in court. During the trial, she was questioned by the prosecution, who would actually ultimately try to turn it around on his wife. Well, she was living in the house. How do you know she didn't murder them?
Wow, that's a stand-up husband right there.
Right? And then he wonders why she fucking divorced him while he was on death row. He's a fucking idiot. So on February 5th, 1991, the jury took a break at 10:10 a.m. They returned back into the courtroom at 11:50, and they watched this videotaped conversation that Gorick had taped when she approached him regarding, hey, the detective showed up at the house and things like that. After they watched this, the jury returned to the jury room, and within 6 hours, they delivered their decision. Guilty of first-degree murder and 15 other counts.
Wow.
They threw the fucking book at him. So, he was actually sentenced. So, count 1, first-degree murder of Peggy Carr. That's death. You're in prison for life. Second count was attempted first-degree murder of Arlie Dwayne Dubberly, 30 years. Third count, again, attempted first degree. These are, I'll tell you their first degree until it changes. Pye Travis, which was Pye Jr. Pye Carr, who was the patriarch. Casey Carr, Galena Bell, and Tammy Carr. And he got 30 years for each of these. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 30 times 30. He's fucked.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere soon.
So then he was also on count 8, who was found of poisoning food or water. And he was convicted to 30 years for each of these counts. For Peggy Carr, for Arlie Dwayne Dubberly, Pye Travis, Pye Carr, Casey Bell, Galena Bell, and Tammy Carr. And then he was also charged with tampering with a consumer product, which landed him an additional 30 years. So the court came back and revened. 2 years after Peggy's death, Trepal was sentenced to death. He would be given an additional 420 years for all the other counts.
So what state is this? You said Florida?
Yes.
Wow, that's hardcore.
So
good for them.
Well, that's the thing. So this took place in the 1990s. He's been appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal, all this shit, and he keeps getting rejected and things like that. His last appeal was in 2005, and it hasn't been answered yet. So he hasn't been given an execution.
2005?
Yeah.
And it's still not...
We're almost 20 years out from that at this point. So he's been going on and on and on about all of this stuff. He hasn't been able to make any appeals whatsoever in all of this. And he's like, you away with it. No, you are an idiot. You're Mensa. And you dropped the ball on many occasions. That could have covered this up for you. Peggy's family is really pissed off because at this point, because he hasn't been given an execution date or anything like that, they see it as a miscarriage of justice. Because he's allowed to live and breathe.
Exactly. I'm thinking that. Just fry his ass.
That's my thing. Like, he has no redeeming quality. If you let him out, he will do this again. Because when he was in college, I was listening to this podcast that talked about how he put hallucinogens on the doorknob of his dorm room because he thought people were coming in to steal. So when you grab that doorknob, those hallucinogens get sucked in through your hand and they fuck you up royally. So when he got prison for 3 years, he should have gotten a lot more.
That's crazy.
So again, it's one of those cases where you think you're so fucking smart and you can't get away with murder. It's like, no, that's not how this works. Especially with him because he left a fucking dirty trail behind him. And look, if I killed somebody with some kind of poison in a house and then I'm moving out of that house, I'm going to clean that place with a fine-tooth comb.
You want to get rid of every little piece of evidence you may have missed.
Even if she had turned him in, like Susan.
Yeah.
All she had to say
how did he get the poison into their Coke bottles? It's not like they lived together.
He tampered with them. So they used to have a delivery system.
Oh.
He went up when they were at work and he took the bottles.
Okay.
And he carefully popped them open so not to like bend.
If you get those needle nose pliers, you can just pull up a couple of those little edges, enough to pop that off, shove it in there, put that top back on, and then just squeeze it in just the right spots again.
And if you're an unsuspecting family, like, I put a 12-pack of soda in the fridge and I don't ask Az to see every can that she opens. You know what I mean? So, and especially back then, we were way more trusting than we are now and things like that. But it was, like, to me, I'm just like, no, I hope it wouldn't happen today, but it does happen today.
That's what I think is wrong with the court system. They let things drag out for so long.
Like, why his appeal that was filed in 2005, why are we still fucking sitting on it? It was some kind of habeas corpus bullshit, which he had been denied for the year prior. So he's just kind of like herpes. He just keeps coming
And he's probably
back.
going to die before he gets murdered, before he gets the death sentence.
Right, because the Gen Pop doesn't have access to him. He's on death row.
He's going to just die of old age.
I know, and that sucks.
Yeah, because
Peggy
nobody
didn't get to die
exactly.
of old age. We have proof. We found, like, in 2 different homes, they found proof that this idiot did this stuff, which is so frustrating because, I'm about equality, eye for an eye.
Yep,
Gandhi had it right.
I totally agree.
You accidentally throw a ninja star into my eye and I'm blind in my left eye. I should be able to do something to take vision out of your left eye. Mm-hmm. Eye for an eye. How else are we, I know that's not the answer and some people are too stupid to learn from that. But with this idiot, he's enjoying life.
You know what? He was drunk on his power of no one else knowing what he was up to.
He still gets to sit and read his books and stuff. He's sitting up on death row. He has nothing better to do. Almost 20 years later.
And he just...
30 years later.
I don't know. That's not fair.
And her family says they're suffering because it wasn't even that. So her family had to actually decide whether or not to remove life support. So they made this determination because they didn't want her to suffer. And now this fucking asshole gets to sit on death row and fucking smile for the cameras and this and that. When they had to make that awful decision to, like, not kill their mom, but they had to take her off of these ventilators.
They had to let her go.
Right.
And that's not fair.
Which is actually kinder than what some of the people are doing nowadays with their COVID family members. So, you know, I totally respect that they had to make that decision. I just don't think it's fair that they don't have an execution date. Execution dates change.
There should be like almost like a statute of limitations to how long after somebody is sentenced with that death penalty, how long it can drag on, because this is ridiculous.
Do you remember, have you ever watched Oz on HBO?
I don't think so.
So they had this little self-contained prison within the prison, and they called it Oz, like for the Wizard of Oz. And a couple of guys killed other people, and they were sentenced to death quickly, and within a month's time they had their death date. I know that's fictional TV and stuff like that, but that's the way this justice system has to work, because from somebody that's been watching these horrible COVID cases come in and slowly deteriorate, and you look at that person's suffering, you look at the poor nurse that just can't take another patient dying on her, and then you look at their family who has this hope that this person will come back, and they're never going to come back to 100%. They're never going to. And then you got assholes like this, really sitting like with their shit-eating grin on death row. They're untouchable. None of the other inmates can get to them. It's just not fair.
And that's why our taxes are so high.
Right. And even to kill him, our taxes would,
yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so much, and then everybody there. So, I'm not
Honestly,
saying...
Honestly, I think they should let the family have the option. Do you want to do it?
Well, and the thing is, too, like, with the death penalty, there's so much ins and outs to it. It's almost like, shit or get off the pot. Are we going to do this, or are we going to...
Yeah, no. It's like in 2020, they'll sentence you to death, but you might not die until 2040.
Well, and even then, so, like, so say today, I'm like, 9/11/2021, your death date is May 15th of next year.
Yep.
He's got appeals and stuff like that. It may not be until May of 2030 that he gets schedules, but he's never leaving death row. Nothing bad's going to happen to him because...
He'll die of old age before he dies of anything.
Exactly. And to me, that's not fair to Peggy Card's
it's not.
family.
Life isn't fair, Kelly.
No, it's totally not. But but when you take another life, that's totally different.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we've probably given each other colds time and again, and that's one thing. But, like, to kill somebody in your family and then not get that justice, I totally feel for them. And I don't think that the death penalty is a deterrent or anything like that. And I'm not saying it's right, because there have been people who have been found not guilty on that stance. But we also need to look at it as though now we have evidence. This guy did this. And, you know, we need to... If he's going to have life in prison, then give him life in prison, but throw him in Gen Pop and see what happens.
Good point.
Because karma's a bitch.
Yep.
I want to drive that bus one day.
You can. You are. You do sometimes.
Yeah, I did this week.
So that was interesting, Kelly.
I'm sorry, it was a bummer, and then I got into it afterwards, but I don't know. I think there are issues we can all fix in the justice system.
True.
But until next week, we'll talk to you guys later. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Bye.